race as well. At the moment, given the situation on the general classification, it will be Tobias Foss. Let's strip away any time bonuses, but Tobias Foss is the race leader elect now. He's the leader on the road because Joseph Czerny has been dropped. He was sitting in second place overall on the same time as Ethan Vernon, but our race leader in the yellow jersey are now well out the back of this peloton. So they're pressing home their advances because Tobias Foss is now the virtual race leader. So that's another thing to consider, not just the stage win, but leading this race. Heading into the time trial tomorrow as well, Nico. Tobias Foss, the world TT champion, still to win a time trial in that jersey. But if they were to start tomorrow in the yellow jersey, not that he needs any added motivation, but it is a small motivating factor, being the leader of the race as the world champion. He will certainly put on a show. So I think it's a dual purpose bit of riding here.
Definitely, and also for these riders, they like to start the further possible, so as they clearly know all the times of their opponents, although they always, at the moment, they really focus on their own numbers, but it's always great to have the references of other riders.
So just under 19 k's to go now, heading ever nearer the final climb of the day. Just a reminder of the situation at the top of the general classification, just to put things into perspective as we look at the sprint. Tobias Foss didn't even think about that one. Scores another 6 points towards the points classification. But yeah, Ethan Vernon led this race at the start of the day. He'll no longer be in the yellow jersey at the end of the day, that is for sure. Neither will Joseph Czerny. Tobias Foss is now the race leader. The closest rider behind Foss, well, actually on the same time as Tobias Foss, separated only on countback, is Remy Cavagna. Now, have you spotted Cavagna? I haven't spotted Remy Cavagna in this group. He is at on the same time as Tobias Foss. Next up is Nico Denz. I saw Nico Denz dropped. Joel Sutter I saw dropped. Then the next placed best rider, Ethan Hayter, at 5 seconds, and then Michael Bjerg at 9, who's definitely in this group. And I've also spotted the Italian for Team JK Olula, Matteo Sobrero and Ivo Oliveira. So they are the next best riders overall. And Juan Ayuso, who's definitely there too, is just at 12 seconds. So pretty tightly packed at the top. And if we do get a sprint and a small group going to the line, the yellow jersey could quite possibly be decided on the time bonuses.
Yes, especially for Hayter.
Yeah, Hayter will need the time bonuses. Oh, and a time gap to move over Tobias Foss. 10 seconds for the winner, 6 and 4. No time bonuses out on the road in the Tour of Romandie due to the selective nature of the course and due to the fact we have 2 individual time trials. The first we've had, short prologue, and next up, from a TT perspective, stage 3 tomorrow, 18.75 hilly kilometres on the menu. Still 17.6 k's to go. A sizable group still moving towards the finish as we head through the Valley de la Seine. Beautiful verdant green fields here. Stunning, stunning terrain, almost chocolate box-like. As we head towards this final climb of the day. We don't go through the finish line again until the finish now, so it's a slightly different approach to the climb of Le Communal than we've seen on previous laps. But they will be at the bottom of that climb in only 5 or 6 k's time. So that's why we're seeing the pace starting to up a bit, and teams like DSM moving into the fray. We've got to doff our cap to the newly found sprinting prowess of Romain Bardet yesterday. That was a fine 4th place for him.
Yes, definitely, it just shows how focused he is, and you can just see Chris Hamilton now doing the pace for him in the front, making sure they're in the perfect position to hit that 1.7 kilometre climb. You can see just behind the DSM riders the figure of Masnada, the Italian climber.
Yeah,
and at the back of the bunch, you could see also, quite surprisingly, the sprinter of yesterday, Nice, who's still hanging there, that number 57 on your right hand screen, just behind the Italian jersey. I thought he would try and maybe move up to optimize his chances of making it over the climb, or maybe he's just there, he is moving up, trying to move up as I speak, or maybe he's just happy that he survived the other one and he knows is going to be very difficult for him.
Yeah, great riding by Thibaut Nice. Superb sprint by the youngster. Just see Jonathan Castroviejo moving up on the outside. Egan Bernal just in the centre. Jonathan Narvaez is there as well. They're the 4 surviving members in this front group for the Ineos Grenadiers, looking after the interests of Ethan Hayter.
And there's Jorgensen on the right-hand side of the screen. Funny enough, he has no teammates around him. We could just spot Oliveira, a couple of riders behind him, but he should be in front, trying to help his leader.
Yeah, it's just taking the wind, or the wind has been taken for him by Tobias Foss. Also moving up on the outside there in the Tricolor National Champions kit of Italian road champion Filippo Zanna of Team Jayco Alula. Also in that group as well for the men in white and blue. Eddie Dunbar, I saw Lawson Craddock as well. I think I saw Chris Juliensen too. So the team there well represented. Unfortunately, no Simon Yates, who withdrew from the race yesterday with a stomach bug. So approximately from that aerial shot there, about 40-45 riders left in this main group. Thibaut Pinot, so most of the pre-race favourites are in there.
First time we see Pinot in the front. He's been sitting in the back, although his team was in the front earlier on. Just made us up now.
It's just dropped into the wheel of Chris Hamilton there. And also up the front you can just see there were 2 British riders for team at DSM, Max Poole and Oscar Onley. Oscar Onley not too far from the front as well. Poole and Onley, as well as Bardet, as well as Hamilton as well, 4 exceptionally good climbers. And riders, of course, Nico, you'll know very well because you're ex-teammates of those lads. Rafa Majka just moving up the outside too.
Just Eddie Dunbar being isolated in the front, taking a lot of wind.
You wonder who for Eddie Dunbar, I'm sure he'd like to get a good ride here, building his form after that long layoff where he broke his wrist at the start of the season. It's important he gets these hard kilometres in. But you'd imagine he'd want a performance here, but this terrain should suit the light of Filippo Zanna and Matteo Sobrero. Although Sobrero did say when we heard from him the day before yesterday, he's more focused on building shape himself and focusing on the individual time trials. But we shall see. They are a team that needs a result, and they do have options here. So 14.8 k's to go. You can almost feel the tension in the bunch as they come towards this final climb. And the thing is, Nico, it's not the hardest climb, is it? It's a fast climb. Remember, it is only just under 1.7 k's in length, 7.6% maximum on a wide road, smooth surface, a fast-ish climb. But I think just at the point where it is steep enough to split, and still it is Jumbo-Visma on the front. Superb riding here by the Dutch squad. They really are looking good here. Nobody else bothering to assist. Also just see Mike Woods on the inside there for Israel Premier Tech.
Yes, you can just see that again, the experience of the riders. He knows how to pace himself. He knows what he has to do. He knows where his job's going to end, and he's just pacing. And the bunch is happy with what he is doing. You could just see when they come beside him, they drag race him a little bit, but they always leave his wheel in the front. He's looking after the pace. The riders from behind are not going to come back, and if they come back, they will blow again, so that's not his problem. For him is making sure he can keep that sustained pace to go all the way to the bottom of that climb. So as probably Kruijswijk can take it on afterwards.
Yep, this is an amazing turn by Robert Geesink. He's been on the front he's such a long time now. Kruijswijk on the drops just behind him. You can almost tell that it won't be too long before Geesink pulls the pin, but this is some turn on the front. Hamilton just to his right, just moving up on the outside. A couple of riders there from Bahrain victorious. Remember, they've got Gino Maida and Damiano Caruso as their overall hopefuls. Also near the front as well, I spotted Jon Izagirre in the red and white of Cofidis. 13.4 k's to go now. Not too long before the roads start to tilt upwards, and then the action will certainly commence. But it looks to me, Nico, as if we are going to see a further thinning of this group.
Definitely, as we could just see just now, Chris Hamilton putting the pressure down. We spotted the sprinter Nikias Arndt, who was just there in 5th or 6th wheel. One of the fast riders still in there. Oh, that was... you could just see the experience of Geesink. He was still pulling and going to bring the whole team into that left-hand corner before they're going to hit the climb. Chris Hamilton couldn't even power through.
Well, there we are. Real sharp, obtuse left-hander there. Riders at the back losing a lot of momentum, having to shave off a lot of speed. Meanwhile, out in front, they continue to ride hard. And now taking things up as we expected, it is Steven Kruijswijk. And there's an attack on the left-hand side. And this is Astana on the offensive. They've had a good day so far, but marshalled exceptionally quickly by a Movistar and also by Team DSM. It looks like that is in fact Max Poole also in the mix as well. Israel Premier Tech in the form of Mike Wood. So it's started to kick off now.
Starting to kick off. They're talking in the back, and it's Gloag who attacks behind, trying to close the gap. Bridges across very easily.
In fact, it's Oscar Onley in the front there. Oscar Onley glances across. Mike Woods accelerates. 12.3 kilometers to go. Straight on the wheel there is Onley. Mike Woods leans on the power, and it is Matteo Jorgensen, the American for Movistar, also trying to winch himself across the gap. It really has kicked up now. This is what we thought would happen. It's all about a Gloag for Jumbo-Visma at the moment. And where is Tobias Foss? It will be a new maillot jaune today as riders get punted out of the rear of the peloton here. You need to head back to the front to see what the action is all about. And Mike Woods pressing home his advantage here, pulling Gloag clear. And there's some other accelerations. It looks like Filippo Zanna now, Nico, trying to get across the gap.
It feels up Filippo Zanna with 3 riders on the wheel. Well, actually, the whole peloton on the wheel. Quite a big attack from Mike Woods, who is not looking back.
Trying to look down that good acceleration.
It's not Jorgensen.
Now Jorgensen did a try second to get across the gap, but then he thought better of it. So it's certainly not Mühlberger either. And actually, the DSM rider Oscar Onley has now been dropped. Mike Woods looks across. Is he going to get any assistance? And that little bit of a hesitation means that Zanna is now back on the front and trying to close the gap. Another acceleration on the right-hand side. We top this climb in just over 1 kilometer's time. 1.1k. Mike Woods goes again. This is his favourite terrain. It's actually, in fact, only 500 metres to go. Now, no real definitive splits here. Yates just on the wheel there of Jorgensen.
And Gloag is not going to help. Michael Woods gave him the elbow, saying, give me a turn, and he just moved out of the wheel, saying no. And it's Rafael Maischka now putting the chase in the back. With Bardet on the wheel, Yates and Jorgensen just behind.
Only 300 metres to go to the top of this climb now. Mike Woods sits down, back out of the saddle again. Levers the gear. It's actually Yates coming across the gap, and Rafa Maischka a little bit further back there. So Yates trying to sew this back together. Big split starting to occur now. Last 100 metres or so over the top of this climb. There's stage 2 of the Tour de Romandie. First real hilly stage. There's a couple of runners are put in difficulty. Magnus Cort Nielsen dropping back. He's got a teammate with him in the form of Jonathan Caicedo. If he just holds on, they might get back in. Caicedo accelerates. Magnus Cort Nielsen fighting with every single fibre that he has as they crest the top of the climb. And it is indeed Yates that takes them over the top. Still a big group here that's together. A little bit of a split towards the back of this group.
Oh, and Tobias has left the wheel as well, struggling in that second group.
Yeah, Tobias Foss. Jonathan Castroviejo also fighting to stay in contact. There is Remy Cavagna, one of the other big riders that has a lot to gain today. Steven Kruijswijk just at the back of this group now with Caicedo and also Magnus Cort Nielsen. Let's look at the effort there here of Kruijswijk to try and stay in contact with the flying duo in pink. 10.7 k's to go. We now plummet down, kick up, and then we've got that flat running to the line. The splintered field of the Tour de Romandie, plummeting down the climb of Le Communal. The final climb on the menu today. One small dig at the bottom of this descent before the long arrow straight run into the line to finish in Le Chaux de Fonds. We have a small selection at the front. In fact, Nico, it looks as if it has all come back together. Steven Kruijswijk just at the back also tries to get back in contact, but importantly, when you look at the fast men here, Magnus Cort Nielsen is going to have to rely a lot on Jonathan Caicedo to get them back in the fold here, although the group just in front of them is a fair way back.
Yes, now they have a lot to do on their task, but you could just see the front group just there. There's like about 3 groups. What's going to happen now, it will really depend on what goes in that front group. As you can see, everyone's a bit decimated. There's no team who wants to take the chase on, so the pace will kind of slow down. And it might give a chance. Exactly, and it might give a chance to the riders to make their way back.
Yeah, Magnus Cort Nielsen himself wasn't just relying on Caicedo to turn back on. In situations as acute as this, with opportunities hanging by a thread, you need to put some power in yourself, and that was exactly what he was doing. So a brief Anton Cordial. It looks like that's Fausto Masnada in second position there for the Soudal Quick-Step team. There's a confirmation. It was indeed Yates over the top ahead of Bardet, Gloag and Mike Woods. But the points in the consequential, the leader of that competition by a handsome margin now will be the man that dominated the day today. Out in front, Julien Bernard of Trek Segafredo. So he will definitely be a man that's making a trip to the podium. But the question still remains, who will take yellow? Very tightly packed at the top. Remember, 10, 6 and 4. Looks like the rider here from Bahrain Victorious really starting to push on the descent here, Nico.
Yes, keeping the pressure on. No, he's slowing down. He's looking back behind him, shaking the head. I think he was expecting to make a bit more damage.
They're about halfway down this descent now. He's got a little bit of assistance there. Just pulling out the camera pictures here, giving us this wonderful view of the peloton snaking their way down at speed down this descent. Well, this is Sobrero. Sobrero, former Italian TT champion. They've got the road champion amongst their number, and Sobrero has opened up a little bit of a gap, straight onto the tops, drops down to get as aero as he can. Real confident, smooth bit of descending there, Nico.
Yeah, Sobrero, one of the good fast descenders. You could see him also no panic, although he was coming back very, very close to the bumper of that motorbike. Kept his calm, used the motorbike actually on the acceleration. And Magnus Cort is back in that leading group.
He is back on. This is basically one of the last turns on the circuit. They're going to head all the way in to La Chaux-de-Fonds now. Sobrero swings over. This could be an opportunity for somebody to go clear as well, as Magnus Cort Nielsen just latches himself onto the wheel of his teammate Caicedo. And now this is another little kick up. We've got a small kick up of about 1 kilometre or so before the drop down into the line. And that looks like Jon Izagirre of Cofidis, who's now gone clear with a small group of riders. Also in the mix as well there for Movistar, looks like the figure of Will Barter. It is and Max Poole as well. So an interesting trio now moving clear, Nico.
Yes, at this moment in the race, but you look, just Michael Woods again closing the gap. Kenny Elissonde, Eddie Dunbar on the wheel.
So Ride Lotto Destiny trying to sew things back together there as well. That was the last opportunity to go clear on any sort of elevation, but they moved up that exceptionally quickly. This rider's trying to hold on to the back. It's the key rider here. Remy Cavani is a key rider, remember, in terms of the general classification. Not too far behind at all, and is second behind Tobias Foss.
So in terms of sprinters, we have Nikias Arndt, we have Niels, we also have Magnus Cort, so a lot of fast guys in that group still.
We do. Good ride by Thibaut Nice so far as Kenny Elissonde tries to accelerate clear. Barter on his wheel, takes a look round. You see the Irishman Eddie Dunbar. Good to see Dunbar back at the sharp end of a bike race, that is for sure. Jonathan Narvaez also there too. Haven't seen Ethan Hayter for a bit. There is Adam Yates in the white and black of UAE Team Emirates. There's Zana, unmistakably present there at the front for Jayco Alula, the Italian champion. As you say, well spotted in terms of Thibaut Nice. And the fact that Narvaez has now moved to the front and set the tempo would suggest that Ethan Hayter is indeed in this group, Nico.
Yes, definitely. And what they want to try and do is make sure that we don't get cut out and get a lot of these attacks that were going on. So you try and put a rider in the front and try and show that you're trying to get a bit of control on the race.
And that was also Jonathan Castroviejo moving through. Good to see Egan Bernal ensconced in the centre of that group as well. And there is Ethan Hayter just in the middle. Castroviejo moves through to the front to join his teammate. just to try and get a little bit of control back on this group now. Just over 5 kilometres to go now on stage 2 of the Tour de Romandie. Just over 5Ks to go on stage 2. Destination La Chaux-de-Fonds. Magnus Cort Nielsen on the back, rocking and rolling those shoulders, holding on to this lead group of around 40 riders by his fingertips. And a big attack goes on the right-hand side here, immediately countered from UAE Team Emirates, just at the top of the crown of this hill. This is the last piece of elevation before the finish. This is a good move.
Yes, big attack by Gino Mader, which is funny to see him attack initially sitting down, but just the power they have.
Gino Mader accelerating here. The Swiss rider just in his wheel is Finn Fisher-Black, the New Zealander. For UAE Team Emirates, a good counter move there by Finn Fisher-Black. Got his first road win on the board just over a week ago in the Giro Sicilia. And goes on the left-hand side, counters it. Good instinctive move there. No, he hasn't exactly gone anywhere, just getting himself in position for this left-hander underneath the tunnel. He'll then swing right, and it is essentially a long, straight, flat, ever so slightly dropping run into the line now. So Mader driving hard on the front, Dunbar in his slipstream, and just behind him, Matteo Jorgensen, who goes on the left-hand side, countered immediately by Yates.
It's an interesting mood by Gino Mader when they have one of the fastest riders in that little group. That was Nikias Arndt, that was literally swinging off last wheel for him to go on the attack, but yet again, he is the team leader, and he is one of the fastest guys when it goes in the mountains. So more attacks, and that's Ayuso.
Yep, Ayuso goes on the right-hand side, sensing the moment. But it is Zana who goes with him. And also in the mix there as well. Looks like it's Gloag also back in the mix as well for Jumbo-Visma. Remember, the other member of Jumbo-Visma eyeing that yellow jersey, wearing orange, Tobias Foss, but I haven't seen him for a minute. Another move stifled, neutralised with only 3.8 kilometres to go. No technicalities on this run into the line. And a big attack on the right-hand side from a Groupama FDJ. And he's opened up a little bit of daylight here, Nico.
Yeah, it looks like Thibaut Pinot. Straight away, Gloag coming, chasing him.
Good move by Thibaut Pinot here. The unmistakable figure of Thibaut Pinot started, of course, in France today. He had a rapturous reception outside the Groupama FDJ team bus. And these kilometres now are ticking by very, very quickly indeed. Not many more opportunities for attacks, but another goes on the right-hand side. Zana very attentive today for Jaco Alula. Also DSM, always in the mix as well. In a fifth wheel there, just taking a toot from his bidon. That was Jonathan Narvaez. They're going to be happy with the pace being set. Movistar with at least 3 riders in this lead group. Matteo Jorgensen, Will Barter. Lots of furtive glances around. This could be another chaotic, stressful sprint if it remains as a sprint. Another attack on the right-hand side here. Looks like Nice is going here, but he's got Kenny Elissonde on his wheel. It's a 1-2 from Trek Segafredo.
It's a good move.
I tell you, it looks as if that is Tony Galopin, actually.
Yeah,
Kenny Elissonde on his wheel.
They're taking the front now to give Nice a good lead out.
It certainly looks to be the case. Nice, remember, second place yesterday, sprinted exceptionally well. The gap is starting to open up. Kenny Elissonde just drifts and lets the wheels go there. This is quite an interesting one. It looks like it is a Galopin.
And you can see Galopin slowing down because he was there to lead out. He wasn't there to attack, but he just saw no one was capable of being on the wheel. Kenny Elissonde let the wheel go. As you can see, the Grenadiers regrouping now in the front left.
This is superb stuff now. Coming into the last 1,500 metres of this race, and for the first time in a while, Ethan Hayter floats his way to the front of the group. Juan Ayuso there in the white jersey as well. Looks like an attack on the right-hand side using the road furniture. Looks like it's a Jon Izagirre, even from this side of things. He's got one of his teammates for company. Which is the quickest way around the roundabout? It was marginally the left-hand side. It is Jaco Alula leading with 1,200 metres to go. Slightly selective race today. We've got a group of around 45 riders going to the front, and it is the champion himself, Look at this, Egan Bernal driving hard on the front now, Nico, with 1 kilometre to go.
Alvarez on the wheel and Hayter in third position. Nicely posed.
But also they've got a rider moving up from a Lotto Destiny there as well. Getting on the wheel of Ethan Hayter. That is the wheel that everybody wants to take. The gap just opens up ever so slightly. This is such a fast run into the line now. Jonathan Narvaez checks the gap behind. Just on the wheel of the man from Great Britain is Roman Bardet yet again. Well, Bardet is looking good. We saw him sprint to 4th place yesterday. DSM are lining up behind the Ineos Grenadiers train here. Ethan Hayter glances around again, moving up again. Ayuso wants a piece of the action. The man in the white jersey. It's acceleration on the right-hand side. Also, Lotto Destiny in the mix there as well. Looks like, is it Sepulveda too? Finally, there's a launch on the left-hand side. And now Hayter goes. Hayter launches. Bardet on his wheel, but Ethan Hayter is going to take his 2nd stage win in as many years in the Tour de Romandie. Hayter takes the win for the Ineos Grenadiers. That was never really in doubt. The fastest man there, led out perfectly by Jonathan Narvaez. Ethan Hayter takes the win and a valuable 10-second time bonus. Well, Nico, that top-end shot made it a little bit difficult to call that one, but ultimately it was one of our pre-race favourites here. Well navigated to the line and supported by Jonathan Narvaez and Egan Bernal as well.
Yes, he had a great support in the last 2 kilometres of the race. You could see him once again. He felt that the pace wasn't that fast, but he just kept on slightly looking behind, see if someone was going to come and go early. And he was fully in control. And when no one went early, he decided to go, and he was just unstoppable.
He was. We'll get another overhead shot just to look at the gap. Probably the best part of a length and a half as he gets congratulations from a few of the riders around him. Good sprinting again by Roman Bardet. Clearly is in a lot of form. So good to see as well the involvement of Egan Bernal in the final there. Made the selection over the top. Here we go, Nico. Pick the bones out of this one.
So as you can see, he just had a quick look behind. He felt the wind coming from behind. It was time for him to go. Lots of paradox of acceleration. Obviously, the riders had to go around Bardet, trying to get him. Opened up a gap. Job done.
Certainly was a job done. Another win on the board for Ethan Hayter. Yeah, well over a length in. I think it was very tight for 2nd and 3rd place there. Coming strong on the left-hand side. And there was indeed Sobrero very late with the lunge just on the inside. So Sobrero might have actually taken 3rd there. That will go down to a photo finish. I think Juan Ayuso on the left-hand side took 2nd place, but again, it was very close.